And welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. The messages of inspiration and hope is proudly brought to you today by the good guys at the 6 Minute Webinar. And on the little ticker tape down there, you can see we got Dr. Janet Smith Warfield and Abigail Gazda with us today. We got two ladies that's going to be on today. You better get your pen and paper, take notes, and you may want to watch the video tonight on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, Messages of Inspiration and Hope, because you're going to need it. they're that powerful. But before we get started today, I want to bring on board the young man's going to be co-hosting with me today. Hey, Rich, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Jim. How are you?
Oh, fine. We got two wonderful ladies with us today, don't we?
We sure do. Yep. Just in our conversations backstage.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to be powerful speakers for us.
They really were. And I really enjoyed, it's the first time I've ever met Janet. I've had Abigail on the radio show. First time I've met Janet. And I tell you what, she let me know in a hurry, I better behave myself, huh? She is a fun lady. We're going to have some fun. And most importantly, you folks are going to get a lot of value out of what they're going to share today. But before we get started, we're going to be right back right after this brief message.
Hi, and welcome to the Messages of Inspiration and Hope show that's proudly sponsored by the 6-Minute Webinar. Today we have some exciting and very interesting guests, real people just like you and me. Thank you for tuning in. Enjoy the show. Now here's Jim.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. And Rich, we got to invite Dr. Janet Smith Warfield to the stage. I'm going to click the button, and I want you to give her an official welcome, brother.
Hi there, Dr. Janet. Thanks for joining us today. I cannot wait to share your message with our audience, and I know they're going to benefit from it. So I'm just excited to hear it myself and get to know you and what you do a little better.
Well, thank you so much, Rich and Jim. I'm delighted to be here.
We're so glad to have you here. And ladies and gentlemen, she sent me some information, and I want to make sure I read this. I'm going to read this with you and not to you because I don't want to goof up the words, because this lady, when it comes to words, she's a powerhouse. First sentence, she says, words are also energetic vehicles that impact the way we feel about ourselves. When I read that, I go, wow, I've heard it put a lot of different ways, but that is just a way that just really resonated with me. Rich, how about you?
Yeah, definitely. As I read over it, I was definitely kind of taken back and had to think about it a bit more because it was deep.
Yeah, I mean, it just, because a vehicle does make an impact if you get out in front at the wrong time. But Janet, if you'd be so kind as just share a little bit about who you are, your background with the audience today, please.
Well, I can tell you, first of all, I don't label myself, but I will give you a couple of the most important aspects of my journey. When I was about 30 years old, I had a mystical experience, and it was like this. It was all of a sudden, everything changed for me. Nothing outside me changed. What changed was the way my mind was viewing what was outside of me. Well, I was so excited because I had this sudden clarity. And I was so excited. I wanted to tell everybody about this experience, this amazing experience. So I started going like this. I was met with these blank stares. So I was talking, but I was not communicating. So then I started playing with words. I pulled back and I thought, well, what's wrong with the words I'm using here? What am I missing? How can I get this right? So I spent about 15 years just writing stories, writing poetry, asking questions, trying a little bit of didactic teaching. That really didn't work well at all. Working with metaphor and allegory, and I couldn't get it completely perfect. It just didn't work. And the question that actually came up for me was, how can I use analytic, divisive words to communicate a unifying, holistic experience? And I couldn't do it.
Hmm.
It was like trying to use a screwdriver to hammer a nail. The tool was not right.
Mm.
I needed to do. So I kept, it was so frustrating. I kept working with this and playing with it and couldn't get it perfect. And then after about 15 years of playing with this, it felt like a life purpose question. After 15 years of playing with it, I changed one word in my question. I changed the word communicate to facilitate.
Hmm.
Then the question became, how can I use analytic, divisive words to facilitate a unifying, holistic experience? Now, that was doable, but it also meant I had to step into my full strength and power and really pay attention to what I was doing in each and every moment. And then my mind is going around thinking, who am I to do this? Who do I think I am? Can I do this? How do I do it? So that was an entirely different question. That's probably the most important thing in my life you need to know. As far as background, I practiced law in Atlantic City for 22 years. So I've got this weird left brain, right brain balance. But the legal practice was very helpful too in synthesizing my language and really focusing it. And now the most important thing I'm doing is that I am the founder. On April 17th, 2020, I filed in the state of Florida articles of incorporation for a new educational foundation, Planetary Peace, Power, and Prosperity Legacy Foundation, Inc. I know how to do this. It is a semantic solution to all this human suffering.
Wow.
It not pain. I mean, we can still go out and stub our toe and it hurts. But
Sure.
the suffering we impose on one another.
Mm. You know, listening to you talk, I can tell that you really have a good grassroots grip on words, because when you speak, you paint pictures. Like, a screwdriver on a nail. Okay, I can understand that. That sounds like something I'd do.
I've done it.
Have you?
Hard,
no.
isn't it? It's a lot harder than using
Yeah.
a hammer to hammer a nail.
Oh yeah. And a lot of people, when they want to speak, like they're real educated. I'm not, maybe not say real educated, but they want to speak like everybody out there is real educated. You really need to speak at about the sixth grade level, because a lot of people's lifestyle, their experiences, their education, and all is much different than yours. And how many times have you been talking to someone about something? They start, explaining something in simple terms. You go like, I don't know anything about that. What is that? And especially speakers who are trying to maybe sell a coaching program or something like that. If the audience cannot communicate with you and understand what you're saying, they're not going to buy anything from you, because they figure, wow, that's above my pay grade. That's just grassroots reality, and I tell people that. And because we know a lot of people, Rich and I, we work together. In fact, Rich has been on the show before when it was original series twice, if I remember correctly. And, a lot of times in there, the people that I saw, someone would just want to talk at a, very high, impressive level and use big words. Well, that's what I like about you. You got a grassroots grip on everyday words. You paint everyday simple pictures that anyone can understand. And that's what really works. Because I was reading here, it says, another sentence I'm going to read says, we can use words in power over, power under, or power against dynamics to assert our prowess or strength. I mean, I like the way she puts stuff together. I mean, she'd take you on a mental trip with that, can't she, Rich?
Yeah, no
And
kidding.
eventually the mind gives up.
Mm.
But no, let me rephrase that. The mind stops trying to find the perfect answer out there,
Mm.
but the mind starts creating and co-creating in each and every moment to shift a dynamic that's going on with the intention of bringing about alignment and power with, as opposed to the power over or power against dynamic. And it's interesting to notice that
Mm.
power with, two hands together, is the Christian symbol for prayer
Mm-hmm.
and the Hindu symbol for namaste. Is that it?
Right. Exactly.
So it's power. It's first of all power with something I call a power greater than yourself.
Oh, yeah.
You can call it anything you want. The words are placeholders for something
Oh, yeah.
much more complex and dynamic. So it's with a power greater than yourself. And then you just stand there and you hold it. And you are, sometimes you attract other people in. They think, oh, isn't that interesting? I wonder how that works. So they start wanting to explore with you. There
Oh, yeah.
are people that are still in this power against mode, and they're going to bash you. They're going to call you names.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they kill your body, but they can never kill your soul.
Mm.
And it's interesting that when you're talking about the alignment, you can see in a person's reactions when they're not in alignment and when they come into alignment, because you can see that they're trying to paint a picture. They're trying to find something that justifies or makes sense out of what it is. And when that's not there, you can tell in their facial expressions, their body language. But when it does happen, you can see it, because there's like a whole different aura about them. Their energy is totally different. They have peace about them because they understand and they're in alignment with whatever that message is.
Mm.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right, Rich. Go ahead, doctor. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I've learned over the years, certainly, yes, to observe the people that I'm speaking with. And I always have to hold my own intention to bring things into alignment, or at least hold my own alignment. That isn't always easy. I've been through a hard life, and I've been bashed, verbally bashed over and over and over again by people in my life, mostly men, but also a few women.
Mm-hmm.
I have stood here and I know how to say, no, I will not do what you want me to do,
Yeah.
because it puts me out of integrity.
Yeah. As you were explaining that, what came to my mind is, for many years, I used to feel like, and I use the expression, I feel like I'm spinning my wheels,
Mm-hmm.
And in reality, what really was going on with me, my insides, I wasn't in harmony with the universe.
Or with yourself, probably.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was totally out of balance. And you see that in people's eyes too. And that's why people need an encouraging word once in a while. And,
All the time,
oh, yeah.
whenever you can do it.
Yeah.
You do
And,
not allow other people to abuse you and throw you out of your own integrity.
oh, yeah. Because
And
sometimes
you have to find what your own integrity is, figure it out.
yeah. Yeah, because it's important. Sometimes I'll just send, like this morning, I sent Bill Heinrich a message. I said, thought of you this morning. Love you, brother. Gone. And, he really appreciated that. And everybody appreciates something like that, to know that you're thinking of them and just wish them well. And you love them as, a fellow human being and being part of the family, because that's what we're creating here. And Rich, you can verify this. We're creating a network of people who care about one another, who help one another, who promote one another. And that just attracts people to us. And
Yeah.
Rich, you've seen that. Go ahead, sir.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, definitely, just within our community, the people that come online to help with things or just offer some advice or tips on some of the things we're working on is amazing.
Yeah. For example, last week, no, week before last, I had one of those weeks where you get, it's wonder I still got any fingernails left, or fingers, I had 3 cancellations on my TV show. One was 5 minutes before I went live. That'll
Mhm.
take the slack out of your chain. you know, but fortunately, I had Sherry went on, a good friend of mine. I said, Sherry, I said, would you mind staying with me the whole hour? She says, I'll stay with you the rest of the day. I said, okay, you're my kind of woman. And, you know, but, but my point being is that whenever you're running into distress and things like that, and I found a lady that in a heartbeat that would fill in one day on a vacancy. And her name is Michelle Moras. And I
Hmm.
said, Michelle, I got a problem. I got a vacancy. I said, would you be kind enough to be on my TV show? She says, yes, under one condition. I said, okay, what's that? She says, I want you to be on my TV show in the Philippines. And this is what we're about. This is what makes the world turn. And when you start sharing your blessings with others, like I invited Abigail to be with us. I call her Abby for short, but I invited her to be on the show today. When I do that for her and I help her, it just, it just vibrates. The blessings that you get down the road, it just keeps, it surprises me how it just opens up doors.
Exactly, and it
Yeah.
doesn't cost anything. It's an infinity symbol of giving and
Mhm.
and it
Yeah.
just is vibrant
Yeah.
if you give yourself permission to play in that space.
Oh, yeah. And I wanted to ask you a question, and I think this is very important. One question I really want to ask you, if someone's listening today and they're really, you know, dealing with and struggling with fear, what would be the best advice or what would you suggest to them?
If you are able, just step out of your fear for a minute and start watching your mind. Watch where it's focused. I can tell you, it is probably focused on one of two places. It's either focused in the future. You're saying, what if this happens? What if that happens? What am I going to do? Or it's focused on what someone else may think, say, or do. You take the next step forward in your own life where you need to go. Once you notice that, you're in choice. Because you can either leave your mind right where it is and continue to feel the fear, be my guest if you like being in that space, or you can choose to bring your mind right back to the present moment.
Mm.
More often than not, the present moment is a pretty safe space. Maybe you're in your own home, warm, comfortable, sitting in a chair or whatever you're doing. But then you ask yourself, what can I do right here, right now, to move my life in the direction I want it to go? And there's
Mhm.
something, it can be as simple as cleaning up the dirty dishes in your sink.
Oh, yeah. A lot of times, we beat ourselves up. One of the things that I use as an example was that I used to make my list every day. And I was so dumb, ladies and gentlemen, and I mean this sincerely. I was not thankful for the things that I got done. I grumbled and complained and was upset at myself for the things I didn't get done. And that's about as short-sighted and as narrow-minded as you can get. But thank the good Lord, and with all the good people He put in my life to to give me good information and tell me, educate me. Let's be honest. I'll give thanks for what I can do. And you know what? I learned that no matter what I didn't get done, I don't have to worry about anybody stealing it. It'll be there tomorrow.
Exactly right. You can pick it up tomorrow and go on. What happens when you do that, though, is all these amazing things start coming into your life. And it's just because you're awake right here, right now, and you're noticing them. And then it feels like a cornucopia of gifts.
Mhm.
You're given more than you can possibly use or consume. It's such exciting,
Oh, yeah.
fascinating, and you're a space, I use the word space, in which to be, and you're always playing and creating and co-creating, both
Mhm.
often with other people. You can do it with words, you can do it with pictures, you can do it with photography, you can do it with anything that you want to do it with.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like you'll never have enough, but you can always, when you look forward to something, there's always going to be something more. But when you look at what you have and you can appreciate that, it just gives you a totally different frame of mind. Not, people talk about gratitude and all that, but really, just like you said, being in the present and realizing what you have now, and you're making the best out of that, and then have a plan to take it forward and be better each day without getting yourself stressed out about what you don't have. I don't have $1 million. Would I like it? Sure. But then I'd have $1 million problems. So, it's like, be thankful that maybe I'm just thankful that I don't have $1 million problems.
If you ever have that $1 million problem, let me know. I'll help you out with
Yeah,
that.
exactly. Help me out.
That's what friends are for, right?
That's right.
It's really amazing because Bill Heinrich, Bill talks about no matter where you are and what's going on in your life, right now is the perfect place for you.
It's the only place.
Yeah.
It's the only moment when you can choose and act.
Yeah.
Right.
The present moment.
Yeah. Future and past, you have nothing to do with that right then.
I think, don't let the future control your mind. Yes, you can plan. Yes, you can figure out where you'd like to go and what you'd like to do, but it doesn't always happen the way you expect.
Right.
Mm.
So just stay open to what comes in.
Yeah.
It's either a challenge you need to learn how to overcome, or it's an opportunity, and maybe both at the same time.
Yeah. Because we can all look in the rearview mirror of life and say, wow, I'm glad that did not happen because that was something I really wanted. And, well, I'm glad that didn't happen. I mean, it's.
What is it, Babe Ruth? I think it was Babe Ruth that said yesterday's home runs don't win today's games.
I love that. And that's exactly right. However, the practice in hitting home runs is the day.
Yeah, I like that. I tell you, reading your credentials here, Janet, I mean, my goodness gracious, you're the top female motivational speaker of the year in 2017. And let's give her a hand on that because my goodness gracious, listening to you the way you use words, I'd hate to be competing against you. Unless I want to come in last place. I can do that.
I don't even think in terms of competition. For me, it's staying in my own integrity and
Just being yourself. Mm-hmm.
Who I am right here, right now. And it's never perfect. So just get that word perfect out of your vocabulary, but you can't excellence. Mm-hmm. And get that word should out of your vocabulary too.
I always say practice makes permanent, not perfect.
There you go. There you go. Also, too, ladies and gentlemen, reading about her credentials here, she's the Empowered Woman of the Year in 2018. She's in the Hall of the Fame of the IAOTP 2020. That's the same place where she was a top female motivational speaker and the Empowered Woman of the Year. And also the top female motivational speaker of the decade. Holy, tell us a little bit about the IAOTP, what that means and all.
International Association of Top Professionals. They have an amazing group of people. And you only connect with them a little bit because, of course, with COVID, they're not having any of their gala events, but they've had several over the past year, which gives you an opportunity to talk one-on-one with some of the other people.
Oh, yeah.
But they're a powerful group of people, both men and women, who make a huge difference.
Yeah, because finding people that make a huge contribution back to life, that's kind of people you want to hang out with.
It's kind of people I want to hang out with because they're supportive. It becomes a team play. And it is play because you don't always see things from the same perspective, but if you're having a conscious conversation, you're open to understanding how the other person is seeing the world. You can do amazing things together. It's an amazing space to play in.
Oh, yeah.
It's great fun. Very exciting.
I bet so. And of course, you founded the Planetary Peace, Power, and Prosperity Legacy Foundation. When you decided to become the founder of that, how did that come about in your life? What motivated you?
I'm driven. I am absolutely driven because I know what I have hold of. And I'm actually working with a very powerful small group of people right now because it is an attraction in process. And, it's really, the overall general rule is really quite simple. Do whatever you want as long as you do no harm. And that's a generalization too. Every time we eat a meal, we kill something. That is probably the origin of the Christian ritual of grace, saying thank you before you eat a meal.
Yeah.
Thank you for the lives that have given their lives for yours.
That's true. That's very true. And we got about a couple minutes left here because having Dr. Janet with us today and Rich, I tell you, I'm just, she just blew me away with the way that she communicates to us at just a grassroots kind of a level. And I know that you really enjoyed having her here today too, didn't you?
Definitely so. Just listening to you and it made me think about some of my own challenges and times when I've communicated with people and haven't gotten my message across quite the way I needed to. And then you think about a lot of times, if we're thinking about ourselves way more than we are anything else, even if you're on a stage, if all you're doing is thinking about yourself, that's where the trouble comes in. When you think about your audience and communicating with them, that's when you really step into the power of the spoken word. And same thing in writing.
And it's even more than just communicating to your audience or thinking of your audience. It's actually connecting with your audience. You look in somebody's eyes and talk to that one person.
Oh, yeah. As you know,
may I say just one other thing real fast?
Please, yeah.
I encourage anybody who's interested in any of this to go to our website, Planetary Peace, Power, and Prosperity.org, AND, not ampersand, or you won't get to the right place. The vision statement there and the mission statement. If it resonates with you, please connect with us. We've got partners all over the planet.
And I did get your email, your website there, correct?
Yes. Let me see.
Yeah. Planetary Peace, Power, and
Yes. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're quite welcome. That's
if I could,
pleasure.
I understand you have a new book coming out this spring.
I do, as a matter of fact. We're hoping it'll launch in March, but I'm not sure we're going to make that. It's Surrendering into Soul, a heroine's journey. And I have had a hard journey, but also a very fascinating one. I've traveled all over the world and I've lived in 5 different countries and had to change myself to be able to communicate with the people.
Yeah.
And that'll be available on Amazon, I'm assuming?
I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
It'll be available wherever my publisher makes it available.
Right.
It probably will be, yeah.
We're out of time, but can I ask you to do me one favor, Janet, if you would, please? When you get your book out and all that, would you get back in touch with me? Because I'd love to have you on the TV show again, and we'll talk about some of the things in your book. Would that be okay with you?
I would love that. Thank you so very much.
Well, thank you, because that would provide a lot of great information out there for the audience, and you're just one of those kind of people that once is not enough. I mean, they got to have some more of you.
Let me just mention real fast. I do have one book that I wrote in 2007 called Shift, Change Your Words, Change Your World. So is available on Amazon if anyone is interested in.
Okay. And again, this show will be uploaded on YouTube channel, Messages of Inspiration Hope. We'll get that edited and uploaded tonight. So be sure and share it with others. And Janet, thank you so much. We've got to go to commercial break. I've got to bring Abigail Gazda on, and because otherwise she's going to say, what did you call me on here if you're going to let me on a TV show?
I am so sorry, Abigail.
Oh, no. There's Abigail. She says, oh, she's good with, look at her. She's.
Big smile on her face.
Oh yeah, she's put up with me on the radio
I muted
show.
so that I could listen so diligently.
Oh yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we want to thank Janet for being here, and we got to go to a commercial break for just about 30 seconds. And Janet, thank you again, and we'll be in touch. You get back with me when your book comes out. We'll lock and load, okay, girl?
Sounds wonderful. Thank you so very much, Jim.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Abigail for your patience.
We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen, right after this brief message.
The 6-minute webinar allows you to create a marketing product in a fraction of the time that it would typically take to create a webinar. And when you follow the simple process, you will provide laser-focused content to your ideal customers. And the nice thing is, it's repeatable for any product or service that you offer. My name's Rich Parsons, founder of Higher Calling Consulting, and creating my own 6-minute webinars has allowed me to have a 24/7 marketing presence for my ideal clients. So I encourage you to make the 6-minute webinar part of your business marketing strategy too.
Well, I tell you, Rich, who was that handsome fellow there on that video?
I tell you, dang, you should put him on TV.
I know it. I thought maybe that might have been your twin brother since now today you got glasses on and he didn't have glasses on there. Yeah.
I'm discovering with age comes less sight.
Oh, yeah. It's funny how that works. Another thing, too, that I don't have this problem, but some of my friends do. They complain about, after a couple of years or whatever, the clothes hanging on the hangers in the closet, they shrink. And I tell them that's because of gravity pulling on them garments. Oh, my. Abigail, how are you doing today, young lady?
Hello, I'm doing great. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, here you're fine. You look great. You sound great. And we're so glad that you're here. And your website there is Abigail Gazda, G-A. Did I spell all that right?
Yes, ma'am, sir. Yes, sir.
And let me check your email address there right quick here, okay?
Mm-hmm. Abigail at heartsunleashed.com.
Oh, yeah. And you're going to be talking to us today on how to learn how to uncycle negative feedback and also a lot of good things. So I'm going to give you a chance, first of all, just to introduce yourself to the audience. Tell them a little bit about who Abigail is. I know that she's got this very beautiful dream catcher here on the left shoulder, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
And I tease her about that because she's got real nice tattoo as a dream catcher but she has got a tremendous message she's got a podcast called Hearts Unleashed. And Abby, I'd just like for you to share with the audience, tell them a little bit about who you are, and this camera's yours, girl.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm the CEO of Hearts Unleashed and then also the host of the Hearts Unleashed podcast. So I'd love to invite your listeners to tune in. I'll share a little bit about myself because the podcast lives inside of or is born from who I get to be in the world. I like to call myself a clarity coach. So I help people get clear about who they are, what they want, because most people can't answer those first two questions. And not only who you are and what you want, but then how to get there, and even more subtly, how to surpass what's in the way from getting there. Because, when we get clear about who we are and what we want, the reason we don't have it is because of what's in the way. So I actually, on a deeper level, I consider myself an emotional intelligence expert. And I also, an area of expertise is subconscious reprogramming. And I wanted to share all that because the podcast, like I said, is born from that. It's an emotional intelligence podcast that helps people understand themselves. And, if someone gets on the phone with me about maybe coaching, or they want to write their first book or whatever it might be, I explain to them, I do not have your answers. People mistake a coach as a consultant. A consultant will tell you what to do with your life. I do not tell you what to do with your life. I ask you a lot of questions that pulls your own answers out of you. And so a lot of people don't realize they have those answers. They're looking outside of them for their answers. And so I turn people inward to find all that.
That's amazing, isn't it, Rich? Because with that, you follow down that same path a little bit, because you created your own Success magazine, and you deal with a lot of people. You interview a lot of people, and people want to think that they need to be told what to do. And no, because no one has a crystal ball, do they?
No. And you're right, they don't. And it's hard, because when people get into the habit of being told what to do, and I can say this, I've had it numerous times, they forget in a way how to think for themselves, because they're so used to having the answers given to them versus exploring. Something as simple as, if you ask me a question that I've already explained in an email before or a conversation before, reference back to that before you ask the question. Do some homework yourself so that you're better for it.
Yeah. I love the way you said it's a habit, right? Because it's a learned skill. It's a learned pattern. And I think that just the way that we've naturally grown up, which is to no necessary fault, but it's not functional anymore, is the way that school or, adults in our lives have been portrayed as the authority, and we've not always been turned inward. It's usually, I know I'm the grown up. This is what to do. This is how to be, and this is what to say or what not to say. And so we really, it's very much conditioning. And so we have to actually uncondition that pattern before we can even have someone like breaking the pattern of looking for advice or again, being told, and then they start to remember to look inward.
As you were saying that, what came to my mind is a lot of times people in their life, and I think I've done this once or twice in my life, we're so pre-programmed. Sometimes, I lost my dad back in 78, right before Christmas. And sometimes in life, as Dad, if you were here, what would you say? And that's where you got to reflect inward and trust yourself. It's okay to make a mistake. Like I tell people, down the pathway of life, I'll admit it. There's a couple of curves I should have made, but I missed. I said, gee, Jim, you should have made that. I don't know what. I'll get it next time. Don't worry about it. I'm still standing. So, and forgive yourself. That's the main thing, but also trust yourself. And when you're dealing with someone like Abigail, who's a coach who gets you to reflect within and bring out your inner strength, that's what you need. Because she's we had her on the radio show there. Bill Heinrich, he's real big in clarity, and Abigail and Bill, man, they just blew everybody away. I could have went outside and had a cup of coffee, and they wouldn't even miss me. They were that powerful, and I didn't want to interrupt them, And I tell you, talking about, I love your bio. You're a heart-centered entrepreneur, and I know that because, ladies and gentlemen, she demonstrates that day in, day out. That's who Abigail is. I keep calling her. I call her Abby for short.
They both work.
Yeah. She forgives me. She figures, well, at his age, I'm glad he's still here and the lights are on. He hadn't made the, checked out and made the big escape. But also too, you're a best-selling author too, aren't you?
Yeah. Have a lot of fun doing that.
Would you share that with us, please?
Yeah, definitely. So my first book is a memoir. It's called Giving Up, the Memoir of a Quitter. And, is said in one sentence. It's all about giving up people pleasing in order to create a life that pleases you. And it is a lot about that emotional intelligence, looking for authority outside of us, the difference between what we've been told quitting is and what healthy quitting is, when to walk away, when to listen to our inner guidance system. And so I love that book. And all of the books, I want to say that I host book clubs, which are really self-discovery group coaching programs. And so if anybody, is enticed by the descriptions of the books or the idea of working together, a great place to start is with my group coaching book clubs. And so those are available on the website that's going across the bottom. But Giving Up, the Memoir of a Quitter is fun. It's a self-discovery book. And there's reflection questions at the end of most chapters for the reader to really take that look inwards. Because I love sharing my names, dates, and places. I love telling my story. I love the Abigail part of it. That's fun. But I really want the reader to get what they came for by really spending some time on their own introspection. And then my second book, I really love my second book. I love them all, but Talking to the Trees is a fictional narrative. So I have the main character, Madeline, and I'll tell people the secret name of that book is called The Adventures of Abigail, because it's been, my last 5 years of journey through life. But Madeline takes a cross-country road trip from Chicago over to Oregon, then down the coast of California, and then over to Arizona. And in that process, it's a journey of learning to be in and be with nature and talking to the trees. But ultimately, by the end of this story, she arrives that the voice of nature is the voice of God. It's a very spiritual journey. Again, the internal guidance system, being able to tune out the noise of the world to tune into our divine guidance. And so I really love that book. I'm very proud of it. And I really love sharing it because you were talking with the Dr. Janet before about imagery. That book has so much imagery that you just really feel like you're in Madeline's passenger seat. And so my third book, which just came out in November that I'm super excited about right now, is Alchemizing Judgment, A Guide Back to Love. And this book is about what you mentioned earlier, upcycling negative feedback or judgment, because this book took a lot of courage on my part, because the first one was a memoir. I could talk about Abigail all day. The second one was a fictional narrative. There's no rules around writing fiction, right? Not really. And this book I called it a guide, a manual. And so it's much more textbook-like. And so I positioned myself as an authority on the topic of judgment. And that I was like, who do I think I am? Or, the voice of who do you think you are started speaking up really loudly. And I had to move past that in order to deliver a message that I knew wasn't exactly mine. It's just that natural. It's just that the truths about life and the truths about transformation and our human psyche and patterning. And so it's really, I put everything I know and have right now into that book to deliver it as a guide for people to make their way back to love. And what I mean by back to love is that everything is innately good. And the measurement of how bad or dark it might be is how far separated from its true source, whether that be universe or God or source energy, this is written very widely for anybody to read and feel comfortable in their spirituality where they are and are starting. But it's meant to guide people back to who they are and then help them discover the leader that they came to be.
Let me ask you a question. I want to turn it over to Rick. Rich,
Sure.
When someone goes to your website, can they find all this information, your books and all that?
Yeah.
Okay.
AbigailGazda.com and then /books. But just on the tabs on the top, you can see books and really surf around.
Okay. I know that, when hearing your story there, that inspires a lot of people, Rich, because people should write from the heart. And when you started your Success magazine, that was a labor of love from your heart. Yeah. And would you be kind enough to share a little bit about what, what was the motivation behind that? Because I want to hear that story. I've never heard that one.
Yeah. So Don McGrath, our dear friend Don McGrath, he was instrumental in this, because it started out as a newsletter that I wanted to help. I wanted to give entrepreneurs and business professionals, experts, a voice. And the newsletter, I was thinking, how am I going to come up with all this stuff? Because it was just mine to begin with. And then Don was like, have you thought about turning this into an e-magazine? And I'm like, well, no, but I have now. And we started having that discussion, and really it's an opportunity for people like you, Abigail, and for Dr. Janet and others to jump in and share about what they do, their entrepreneur journey that's gotten them to the point that they're at, and using that as a vehicle to reach people. Because like I tell people, is like we learn from others that are in, closely knit fields or something that's a shoulder type of industry. And, being a coach myself, I can relate to a lot of what Abigail's saying, because that's some of the same things that I work with people on, but you do it in a different way than I do, because everybody has their own way. It's like one of the guys, Pat Quinn, I went through a stage to scale thing with Advance Your Reach, and Pat Quinn said, there are a lot of people that do exactly what you do, but nobody does it like you do. And so that's why I like giving that voice to people to share it. Doesn't matter what, you could have 10 financial advisors, but they advise differently.
Exactly. And that's what I tell people, don't worry about who else is doing something that you want to do, because guess what? There's going to be people out there that can connect with you, that they cannot connect with them. So don't worry about them. Worry about the ones that you can help with from the heart. That should be your focus. Everything else will just take care of itself. And then in a light, humorous way, I say, you may find this hard to believe. Not everybody, cares for me. That's okay. I mean, because I know it. I still stay awake at night and try to scratch my head and figure that out. But no, it's okay if not everybody, cares for you. That's okay. But the people who you can resonate with, the people you can help, that should be your focus, because that's your gift. That is your calling. That is your duty. And I know that Abby and also Rich both have answered the call to that duty. And I mean, and Abigail, I know you've helped a lot of people, and just share, how it feels when you help someone. I know, hey, we all know how that feels, but I just want to resonate that to the people out there that's kind of like, oh, should I do it? Yes, you should.
How much time do we have?
Oh, honey, for you, the rest of the day. They'll pull my plug at the top of the hour, so don't worry about it.
Sure. Well, I'll keep it concise, but it is kind of hard to put into words, quite frankly, because of the feeling, the energetic experience of watching someone, not only discover themselves, but then take ownership to own themselves, and then learn to love themselves. And often part of the self-love process is forgiving themselves. You mentioned that a little earlier. And so forgiving and then sharing themselves. And there's this, the best to me, it's witnessing someone blossom, right? Because often when someone comes for a coach, they think that they need to be fixed or changed. And we have to start right there, because there's nothing wrong with them. But they're in that mindset of, I'm broken, I'm tired, I'm worn out, burnt out, uninspired, whatever. And so they do sense that something's wrong, when in fact, the place I like to look is out of alignment. And out of alignment isn't bad. It's just if your train is off the tracks, like, you aren't going to get very far. So let's get it back. And then they realize, like, I'm still a train. I still can go. I still got gas in the tank, and let's go. And so it's really, really fun to witness somebody realize themselves. And because they came in this world as perfect as they are, and then we just end up with a lot of layers on top of us. I like to call those wet blankets. But if we can peel those wet blankets off and they start to realize, it's just, I would imagine, I'm not a mother yet, but I would imagine it's a lot like motherhood and watching a child, learn a new skill or discover something or develop and then thrive in the world. Because the last thing I'll say about that is, people do not come into a conversation with me about surviving life. It's about thriving. So we're not playing a small game. We're talking big. We're going big. And that people who end up in a conversation with me have a real sense of purpose, but they might not be able to know how to get that train on the tracks.
That's a good way of putting it. I like about putting that train on the tracks. It's kind of like Dr. Janet. You talking grassroots reality, and I like that type of verbiage, and everyone else does too. because it immediately they connect that mental picture. Okay, if the train's off the track, it's not going nowhere. The choo-choo is stuck.
Yep.
And Rich, I know by visiting with you, you're that same kind of person. You want to reach out and you want to help people. How do you say, find themselves? I mean, you guys are the coaches. I'm just the announcer here. So, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, there's just something about it when you're able to connect with a person on their level and find their problem, if you want to call it a problem, and help them redirect, and just make it. Trains are heavy; they don't always get back on track the first session, and so you have to work with them. And when you see that happen, and then they start making progress, you celebrate that with them, and then the motion just kind of gets going. And next thing you know, they're running down the track and you're just there to support them. And Abigail, I know you're the one, you're just like, this is like perfect. That's exactly what you want. The once a week session turns into once a month just for a quality check to make sure things are good. And then you're off and running.
Yeah. One of the things that shocked me was that many years ago when I first became an instructor, I was awful, folks. I mean, I was awful. I had a fear of public speaking. And so I knew the topic, but getting the verbiage out, that was the problem. And then an old instructor told me, he said, all you got to do is take a deep breath and relax and pronounce your words phonetically. Put some feeling into it, and it calms you down. So, wow, I got through there, teaching all those 4 classes, those courses and all. And the next summer camp, these kids, they're younger than me, kids, young soldiers came up. Hey, Sergeant Grant, how you doing? Oh, I'm doing fine. Hey, you going to be our instructor this year? No, I'm teaching. Oh, shoot, you were our best instructor we had last year. We got so much out of your class. I'm going like, really? I'm thinking, wow, I must be working with a bunch of duds then. But I mean, it shocks you when people come up and you just, you don't realize how much of an impact you made. Right. Because you're focused on serving their needs. And when you connect with them and you get their train back on the track, boom. I mean, the thanks that they give you, it's kind of like, whoa. I bet, because sometimes it surprises you. Even as veterans, coaches and speakers, you two guys are, sometimes it just surprises you, but it's like a breath of fresh air. It always feels good.
Yeah, sure does.
I remember when I was an instructor, I had two examples. One student, he said by the end of the training, the 5 weeks of training, he's like, I get it, Sergeant Parsons, I get it. I had another guy, because he didn't do well in the class and he actually failed some stuff. He asked me, he was just a little punk, but he's like, hey, do you find that it's any reflection of your teaching that I didn't pass that test? I said, not at all. I guarantee you I covered everything you needed. You just didn't do the work.
There you go. Yes. There you go.
Yeah. Try to break it down because they don't want to accept what's going on with themselves to make those changes. And until that happens, I know, Abigail, you can attest to this, until they realize that they need to change, it's not going to happen because they're not open to what you're going to suggest to them.
Yeah, I had that experience as an educator. I actually have my bachelor's in physical education and health and an endorsement in special education. And I went straight into middle and high school PE and health teaching. And I love the topic. I love the content and I love teaching it. And I loved when kids love the class, but there you can bet that in general education that there are kids that don't want to be in gym. And I always respected that, but I always did my best to find that different angle. I actually had some of the most difficult times with the athletes because they're like, it's gym, I got practice after school. So like there was always, or trying to talk to kids about why understanding the concepts of health and wellness are so important, so definitely ran up against that in education, in the general education system, where I was doing more work convincing them about why that content was important, as opposed to being a coach where people actively choose to partake in their own growth. No matter what resistance pops up, they're more apt to be supported in that process.
They may not like what you have to say, but they accept it.
They'll listen. They hear you. The soul hears. The head does not hear you.
We got about 3 minutes left, and I want to give Rich and Abigail a chance just to share anything that they want, because both these people are fantastic coaches. Abigail, I want to personally thank you for being on the show today. She took it on a short notice, and I didn't even have to beg her. That's, I mean, she's just a first class lady. I mean, just, I just want to thank you. Thank you so much for that, because it really means a lot to have a good quality guest on the show. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And thank you for the acknowledgement earlier about, living it, breathing it, and every day showing up the same way, because that's who I am. It's what I do. It's what I love. And really, I love that. I love being that, because when I tried to speak what coaching was, in my first 2-3 years, I couldn't really give it justice with words. So I was like, that's it. I'm just going to be the living example of it. And whoever wants to show up for that can. And that's been a much more effective route. So I appreciate the reflection.
You better believe it. And I'd just like to say this too, folks, that having a radio show with over 6 million downloads, you might say that we get out there, we're on iHeartRadio, Your Futures Now, and iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, Amazon, Audible. I think we're even on Grandma's radio, if I remember correctly. But my point being, I have a lot of people who would like to be on the show, but my obligation to you is to make sure that I only have someone come on the show who has the same kind of heart that this show is known for. And Abigail has demonstrated that ever since I've known her. She hasn't changed one iota, not one beat. And I can say the same thing with Rich Parsons. And both these folks, they were part of the reason why we're here on E360 TV. I mean, because they were both on the Messages of Inspiration and Hope, the original webinar series, where everybody was doing everything. And then they finally found out I wasn't doing anything. They said, "Hey, Jim, what? You're going to be the host." Oh, okay, I can do that. But realistically, it's all about helping people, caring about people, and sharing from the heart for people who care about you and how you feel and where you're coming from, and respect that. Even though we may be different, deep down inside, we're the same. We all have feelings. All of us want to be loved. All of us want to be liked. All of us want to be appreciated. That LLAR I talk about in the R. Aretha Franklin knew this when I graduated from high school in 1967, because that was her number one hit. She spelled out the word RESPCT, because evidently she got the memo. I flunked English in high school. But realistically, this is what this show's all about. And Abigail, to have you on here, and I got to bring back Dr. Janet just for a moment here. I'm going to surprise her. Dr. Janet, are you there? I mean, I don't want to surprise you too much. There she is. But I want to thank.
I am here. I'm listening to Abigail, and I am so impressed.
Thank you.
Yeah, you guys got to make sure you connect with each other. If you need that help, let me know, because that's what we do here. We connect people. And Rich, I invited you on at the short notice because Charlene, she co-hosts with me, and she's an airline stewardess. So she had to get on an airplane, so she's about 35,000 foot above us right now. But you coming on, and I got to ask you a question. What did you think about these two ladies? The band started on that one.
Mother, I mean, you didn't have to play the music for me, but
I made the mistake of turning my phone on again.
Whether it's learning how to communicate effectively with people using your words, or how to coach and inspire people to find what's within them, their greatness that's within, and bringing that out to be a valuable contributing member of society, and being somebody that people want to connect with, that is powerful. And both you ladies are helping people do that in a different way, but yet getting the same end result, is that we have people that are much more equipped, much better at living life as a human being, that people want to be around versus repel and get away from. So thank you both for what you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, I told you first of the show, we got the two wonderful ladies on there. They're powerhouse. You can see they're home run hitters. They don't play around. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Abby.
I said MVP team.
Oh, yeah. I hear you. I hear you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, our time is gone. Thank you so much. We will get the show edited as quickly as we can, and we'll get it uploaded tonight. And it'll be on our YouTube channel, Messages of Inspiration and Hope. And you can go to like our Facebook page, Message of Inspiration and Hope. And I started saying support, but it's Message of Inspiration and Hope because the first name had the support to it. But anyway, our time is gone. Again, thank you so much. And I know that you know some folks out there that really need to hear the message from Dr. Janet and from Abby. So please share it with them, and also Rich, because all of them gave good nuggets of information, nuggets of gold that will really help someone, touch them in their hour of need. I'm Jim Grant. Thank you so much, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.